Okay, welcome back, everybody. This is video number 4 out of 4 days in a row. Another mini training that we'll bring to you. So I'll give a little bit of a recap of where we've been throughout the series. So we kicked off by talking about the window of reinvention and how once in a decade or so, for some men it's more, for some men it's less, but at some point we get called to change something in our lives. So we went quite deep on how to really maximize the experience of when you know a window of reinvention is on the horizon and you have an opportunity to change. How do you maximize the period leading up to that to make it as powerful as possible? That's a really vital topic for me because I've stewed in those months before breaking free, right? I think that's a really productive time. In video number 2, we talked about archetypes. And this is a topic that even a lot of our long-term members and clients have said, look, when I came along, the last thing I thought I was in my own self-concept was an archetype. I just come out of divorce and I'm struggling with dating. The furthest thing from my mind is feeling like I'm an archetype in the world. I'm really just a dude trying to pick it up from scratch. And interestingly, the guy who said that to me, I met him for a coffee a couple of weeks ago, and he was like, look, literally, I'm going to music festivals dressed as a samurai, and I kind of want to wear that stuff as I'm walking down the street. He had all these huge pendant, wrapped around his neck, and his hair was in this shocking, wild style. So it's kind of like something that grows even organically by being on this path. You mentioned this, one becomes more and more of an archetypal presence. So we're giving you that invitation, that more artistic approach to romance early. You check out video number 2. And then in the last episode, we talked about both devotion on the one hand, like what does it mean and what conditions have to be in place, and how do you have to show up with your woman to inspire the quality of devotion from her. That is, for me, the real beauty. Guys talk about how hot a woman is. I think how beautiful a woman is how much devotion can and does come through her. That for me is a signal of beauty. And we also talked about how in this day and age, devotion, at least in the West, doesn't just come on tap. There's a lot of spikes and barbs and challenges on the way if you are to reach that kind of place. How do you handle them? Do you get ruffled? Are you quite sensitive actually to a lot of the dating issues that are going on today? So that was video number 3. Having recorded that last episode, where we really went into, can you move forward through your dating and relationship life without being riled or ruffled or losing your sense of self or getting knocked down or triggered, as people say? Really had me land in a question of self-worth or worthiness or valuing oneself. This is one of the deep topics that people come to me for coaching again and again. A question of, I don't think I really feel worthy to go after who and what I want. But what is worthiness? And how would you know if you felt worthy? These are also strange questions that a lot of people don't have an answer to. And I think a lot of the men who I think both of us really work with on a deep level, often they come with a sense of, I just missed one. I was in love with this woman and it looked like it might go ahead, and she just slipped through my fingers. And it didn't work out in the end. And I'm kind of heartbroken by that. Why didn't it work? Why wasn't I quite ready? That seems to be a question on many men's lips. And the other one is, I speak with men often who say, look, I'm a good dater. I've got it down with women. And yet I don't seem to find the one that's like, really blows me away. And I know internally that I settle and that I somehow avoid still, just slightly. I'm in the ballpark, but I avoid going after what I really, really want in love and in lifestyle. So
Because they don't find it,
here's
or because they're not going on 100%.
the conclusion seems to be, I just don't feel worthy. Like I don't feel worthy to go after the thing that I really, really want. So I'm just curious if you've got a particular take on worthiness and how the story of unworthiness ends. How does that actually end?
The last video you talked about the wife of Charlie Kirk and the wife of or Gwen Stefani and her devotion for her husband on stage, pride of him, right? It's
Yeah.
because they're worthy. They've demonstrated they've they've demonstrated in their life that they are worthy of respect, of admiration, because of what they're caught up in. Um, and we have the sense of unworthiness, and I know this intimately because from the young child up until quite late in life, I was not feeling worthy at all. I was dismissing myself. I was rejecting myself. Women would automatically, after a date or two, be done with me because I was too. I felt unworthy, I guess, and insecure. So again, I go back to the simplicity of if we are on a journey, our hero's journey, metaphorically, to go out there and seek some treasure, whatever that looks like. You could be you don't need a grand tour of Europe like the Romantic poets did. You know, everybody had one grand tour to Italy and stuff that reclaim the classics. You don't need a grand tour. You could be living in Iowa and growing potatoes, but if you're devoted to that existence and you love your potatoes and you love that you're doing this as opposed to I'm just stuck with it because what else am I going to do? Then you are worthy, and because and you'll have a wife and children that are proud of you that you're growing these potatoes and look what I did. So I mean, this is the big thing that I've struggled with, what men struggle with, is this feeling that you're just not aligned with what you should be aligned with. You know, and I talked in the previous podcast that, in my opinion, beauty is a field, metaphysical field, an electromagnetic field, if you want, and we're aligned with it or we're not. We can feel it. That's why we feel aligned with certain music and harmonies, and music is this free song, you know, which is the goosebumps, and and the encounters with beauty give us that because we feel aligned with something that we've been longing for since we were children. And so I don't know. I think it's the practical aspect of this is to be aware of what I just said and think about it all day long. I said a stupid thing. The girl at the office rolled her eyes at me because I said something stupid in the meeting. I was trying to be interesting and funny. That's cool. That's a cool guy. You can look in the mirror and say, at least I was trying to say something funny. She didn't like it. She thought it was stupid. Um, but at least I was trying. That was a sincere attempt on my point, and I keep hammering at the same thing because you're not going to get some self-help book or instructions from me that makes you go, now, okay, I'm confident now, and this woman can't bother me. It's not going to happen. You've got to internally make conscious choices that I'm going to look at it a different way, a different perspective. That's the only practical advice I have is to forcibly choose a different way of thinking about it. That doesn't serve me. To think that, that perspective, we talk about it in our essentials for years. That perspective does not serve me. The perspective that if I go talk to her, she probably has a boyfriend and I'm not tall enough to, she probably likes taller guys and she looks in shape and I'm not really in shape. We have these assumptions and this entire story we make up about somebody we've never met. We invent a story out of whole cloth and pull it out of our pocket and say, this is all I think to be the case. And you don't know. So if you're going to invent a story about a woman you've never met, you might as well invent a good one. She's going to like me. She's going to fall in love with me. She she's got all these things, these assumptions you make to choose better ones because you're choosing it anyway, and it just makes you change internally because you get a little lighter in your loafers and you feel like like you're 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 a bit more bounce in your step, a bit more sachet in your walk because you're believing these things that may not be true, but everything else you're thinking may not be true as well. So there is no self-help quick fix. There is no magical phrase. There's just an internal recalibration that at least I'm trying. I went up to that woman. I got up my nerve. I was red ears. My voice was shaking, and I went up and said, "Hey, I think you're pretty. I'd like to get to know you." And she said, "I'm not interested. Thank you." And I knew it. I'm not good enough for her. I knew it. What did I do? It. That was stupid, and I should have been more funny, or I should have made a joke. We calibrate, calibrate, calibrate. Um, and this is a lifelong pattern. And we think that she's the one, but we never think that we never forgive ourselves and say that at least I showed up. I said that, maybe, you know, I don't know. There's nothing that I can say or give a man. There's no book you can read that'll make him go out there and say, now I've got to fix. Now I've turned that corner. Now I'm worthy. It's not going to happen. There's nothing. There's no self-help training, therapy. It's got to be an internal choice of that that everybody feels like they're unworthy, including her. In fact, a
Hmm.
lot of the time the women, like I suspect the woman on my right I talked about last episode, who was trying to snipe at me and knock me down a notch or so. So um, for certain, she's comparing herself to others and worried about how she's showing up and all that kind of stuff. For certain. Yeah.
So
So
let me ask this. There's a philosophical question about the nature of worthiness. Do you live in a universe where, if you really investigate this, you're not worthy, but she's also not worthy, and neither is anyone else?
that's right. That's how I think.
You're in a not neither
Well, no, no,
relationship to worth.
yeah, it's not like we're none of us are worthy. It's that we all think we're not worthy. I
Uh-huh.
think it. She thinks it, but
Okay.
you are. And I'm not like this charitable, um, positive thinking guy. Oh no, Jordan, you're a good guy. You're okay. I don't have that in me. It's just it which is just words, which is just encouragement. I don't have this encouragement aspect when I like if I coach men. I'm not encouraging. No, you're a good guy. You know what I mean? Which is just empty platitudes. It's more like no, come to the terms with that we're all going to die. That like no matter how beautiful the and pristine this Instagram model looks like to you and in your mind, she there's moments in life when she has to take a long runny shit and she feels like crap, you know, just like you do. She's human too. And when you come to that we're all broken, we've all sinned and come short of the glory of God, all of us, including her, then you can forgive yourself and say, why am I trying so hard? Why am I trying to be this perfection? I'm just going to go with my messy, chaotic self who's trying and sincere. And here I am. That will save you. That's got salvation in it. So, I think.
Hmm. I this this is a real philosophical question. I believe in a universe where I'm completely inherently already worthy all the time, and that she is completely inherently worthy all the time, and so is everybody else. Like there's a blanket recognition of everyone has a fundamental worth just by virtue of them being alive. And you would never, ever look at your cat or your dog and say, this cat or this dog is not worthy to live. They are valuable just
I,
because they exist. Exactly.
Mike,
Ergo
unworthy.
cogito. Right. No one ever had this thought. And that's why pets are so loved. right? So it's only in this human realm where we get so twisted, and we somehow think, God, I exist, but I'm not worthy. But everything else in nature is worthy just by the very nature that it exists. So there's just there's no correlation that we should therefore be unworthy. But so I brood actually in the nature and the contemplation of worthiness and what it is. And I've had experiences with women and love and intimacy, which I felt unworthy. And by the end of it, I felt really worthy. Like the transformation of, bearing the truth of one's heart and being received and being loved back and honored by a woman. Like I've had salvational balm into some of these wounds. So that's really true. And that's a consequence of me just showing up, balls to the wall courageously. Even when I felt unworthy, I just took a punt and decided to declare myself, I like you, and I'm going to show up, and here I am. And that was very transformative. But another perspective is we're all completely worthy just by virtue of existing, but we're also completely blocked from being worthy at the same time, which I think is what you're saying. We all have
Well,
ways that we're blocked.
yeah, it's a little bit of point of clarification here, or precision. If someone is judgmental or aggressive, or say a man is like lecherous and invading space and boundaries and stuff like that, he's not worthy. He's not worthy because he exists as a human. That's the I guess the Western Christian, you know, egotism or whatever it's called, right? But he's not worthy, or a misogynist. In my mind, he's not worthy to me. Maybe he's worthy to someone else, but not to me, because I don't want. And same with women, like women who are vile and petty and really inconsequentially um, mean in their spirit. That's not worthy for me to be around. I don't want it. You know, someone who's making mistakes and being petty, and but they don't want to be. You know what I'm saying? So the worthiness is not something that we're all God's children and like kumbaya and let's hold hands and sing, sing songs together around the campfire. If they're not worthy, is something that you've got to demonstrate that you're attempting to be. You're trying to be something. You're trying to head towards some sense of excellence. And you may not be there yet, but you're trying. You want to, as opposed to maybe I'm making it like a bit of a distinction here, but worthiness is not. We're all worthy in that we're God's children. Get it? But you're not going to be respected. You're not going to be adored. You're not going to be gushed over if you don't have these qualities, and you're aiming for these qualities, and you're trying to foster these qualities, and you're looking at your influences and archetypally trying to extract the essence of what you find beautiful in masculine archetypes when you're a child. For instance, we talked about it before. And you want to know, and you want to study, and you want to learn about yourself, and you want to learn about her, then you're worthy. But it's the ones that have turned their back on this idea that we can develop self. Self-development is different than self-help, which is a distinction. Developing self and developing your character and increasing the quality of your character as a metaphysical, artistic approach that you're consciously doing. I'm gonna construct myself in a certain way. Then you're worthy. But if you just given up or pissed off at the world or angry at women or misogynist or think women are inferior, want to rape them, you're not worthy. You're just not worthy. You're not worthy of a time, attention. You're not worthy of trying to charitably hold your hand and say, no, you shouldn't be like, just dismiss it. That's me.
I mean, there's a lot of things to pick apart in that. Like, how unworthy do you become, and therefore what rights do you therefore disqualify yourself from because of your behavior? Then we go into like penal code philosophy and all this kind of stuff. But you have a moral, therefore worth is contingent on having a moral code and then excelling yourself to some regard against the morals in your code.
Yes, because existing is a moral act, and you're you know the way you present yourself in the world is a moral act. It's like it's aligned, and if you're immoral or amoral, I guess, um, there's then there's nothing worthy. And all the philosophers talk about, Immanuel Kant talked about the discernment and taste. You have to have discernment he's talking about art necessarily, but taste in yourself, taste in how you present yourself, taste in what you do with your time, taste in who you surround yourself with. You have discernment. And if you don't have discernment, and you I mean, and there's all kinds of mental issues, right? So somebody might be um, mentally imbalanced and go grab women's asses in public,
Mm-hmm.
where you wouldn't do that. And we think, well, that guy's immoral. And then maybe there's all kinds of reasons for it. Maybe it's like simple. I don't know. But uh, I I can't stray down that sociological, psychological, psychiatric path too long. I get lost in the weeds. But I think we all know what we're talking about here. I think. I think that there's certain things in life. The way you present yourself, the way you walk up and talk to a woman is a moral act. So,
It opens up a lot of questions of, God, have I been worthy? Am I worthy? How have I sinned against a moral code? And is the moral code even my own? And I can imagine
right.
in what you're saying that there is a lot of scope for people's own guilt within a strong sense of morality that they might impose upon themselves. Like, here are places where I am worthy, and then is more is if you think someone is not worthy, and there is such a thing as discernment, then do I then, to what degree is my worthiness relative? Do I have to make myself worthy in order to belong at this table with these particular people? And worthy according to who? Now, who are the arbiters of worth?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Like who's the gatekeepers of taste, right? That's I mean, this is the debate in the modern age with museums and stuff like that. The Tate Modern Museum with its shock culture, and who's to say that that's tasteful or not? Like I have my opinion based on my history of literature and thinking and stuff like that that I can recognize what is art, what isn't to me. Um, but I don't know. I mean, like, and then this entire debate, this in our modern enlightened species age, where how do you have morality if you don't base it on some kind of cosmic other, like a prime mover or something? How do you have morality if we're just blown out from the Big Bang, and everything that you do right here on this podcast has been determined by the molecules that hit the photons in a certain way, and there's nothing you can do about it, predestination. Then what is morality? If somebody kills somebody, that was dictated by the history of the universe, that is going to unfold into there's an entire debate, in atheists write books about how do you have a morality when there isn't a God, so I can't
All
I
right.
can't.
So what we're basically saying is, if you've got any complex of feeling unworthy, just go and spend a weekend with Zan, and by by the end of a good debate, it will just dissolve any lingering thoughts you have on the topic of worthiness or unworthiness.
Yeah, that's
Like,
right. That's a
we'll just
great conversation.
bamboozle any remaining sense of unworthiness out of the picture. Like,
Yes.
nothing can stand up, right? We'll debate everything to the ground. Will prove, phenomenologically prove, that unworthiness cannot exist. Cannot exist
In an inquiring mind,
outside of a mental construct of it.
that's right. And it's if you have an inquiring mind and you're a philosopher, and you miss art, and you want art again in your life, you're not unworthy, because you have that sincerity and that inquiring mind. And like for me, I was a jealous little shit when I was young, petty,
Hmm.
insecure, and yellow-eyed, looking at other men that would be cool. And I was jealous of them for they did nothing wrong. They're just being guys. And I had to extract that from my system, from my body, from my core, by conscious choice, by conscious constructive thinking about life, meaning of life, why am I here, worthiness, etc. Um, Manipulation. I knew how to manipulate situations, and I ripped it out because I want clarity and authenticity, and I don't want manipulation anymore. So in my mind, I headed towards something I felt was more worthy, archetypes I felt were more worthy than what the
Hmm.
manipulation was. That manipulative self was not worthy.
Would you go back and say objectively that younger you was unworthy?
In some of my behaviors, yes. Yeah. I would not
And
want to
some
be
of your
around that.
behaviors?
Yeah.
Okay. And today you are more worthy or
More worthy.
worthy.
Maybe not fully worthy, but I feel like I'm at least I'm dedicated to trying to understand a more excellent, right? A more my path to excellence. I'm trying to be more excellent than I was before in certain ways. I learn my lessons. I take my lessons. I lick my wounds. I say, okay, how can I do this better in the future? How can I have better perspective? And it's just an accumulation of those little insights all your life that create the becoming of you. You're becoming something. I'm becoming something, you know?
What are what are you now more worthy of, having become something, more of something than you were?
Well, I have a good, healthy self-respect and I like myself. Where before I would blame myself for everything. I don't blame myself for anything. Like, was I sincere? Yeah. Yeah. Did I try? Yeah. Did it work? No. I don't
Yeah.
blame myself anymore.
So
It's
worthy of self-compassion.
worthy of self-compassion, worthy of just liking that the path I'm on. I'm very, I have a lot of gratitude, and I have a lot of excitement for the future. And I have a lot of gratitude that I get to, for instance, do podcasts with you, sitting in Romania, writing books. I have a lot of gratitude around that. And that's carefully constructed. That was headed toward. It didn't accidentally happen. Um, you have to consciously create your path. Even though you don't know what the next step is, you know what you want. You want to head toward that. And maybe it goes all sideways. Maybe you get hit by a bus and you're in a wheelchair, and your whole plans of becoming this major surfer can't happen anymore. But you just bob and weave. Punches are coming in life, and life is hard. Life is dismal, and you got to get out of the way and bob and weave as best you can. You're gonna get hit now and then, but at least you're still dancing. So, I mean, this is saying a lot of metaphorical things that maybe don't make a lot of sense, but um, I don't know. But these conversations are fantastic. So come on a retreat with me. I'm going to be doing retreats in the next future. Join our guild, and,
We
and we
we
have.
just want to annihilate the concept of unworthiness. That's my mission. I
Join our
think
guild. You're worthy.
over the length of this, yeah, you'll go from feeling less worthy about yourself and your comportment to more worthy relatively. Um, so let's stop getting waylaid with the philosophy and the content and say a few things about the guild.
Okay.
Well, first of all, I'll put out an invitation. So this Sunday on November 23rd, so just a few days after you're watching this, Zan and I are going to be live for a webinar. So if there's anything that you would like to discuss about the series, about these 4 different videos that we've had about reinvention, about archetypes, about devotion, and about worthiness and finding worthiness, come onto the webinar with us, post your questions. We're going to answer them real time. And
Okay.
then what we're going to do over the next year, with the doors are open right now. We've got men joining. The first members are in. The first membership numbers are being issued. The guild is technically open. You can click on the link below and read all about what's involved. It's a year-long mastermind training. So essentially, the mastermind aspect of it is, if you're in a moment of flux or transition, which most of us continually are, and if you love the Asamarata message and the kind of concepts and the energy with which we discuss them here on the podcast and within the Asamarata, and you want to be close to the source of this, and you want to spend the next year in the company of other dedicated men who are practicing and living this way of life, then the mastermind aspect of the guild is going to put you in touch with that. We're going to meet regularly over the course of the year, meet in person, meet online, but we're going to have a very tight conversation where we can go deeper into these themes as we move through different phases of our own lives and our creations. It's also a training at the same time. So Zan and I are very aware that we've put an abnormal amount of time into studying intimacy, attraction, relationships, all these big questions, which are always tricky for us men when it comes to our personal relationships. So if there's something that you're going through or some big life pattern that you're looking to understand about your relationship with women, if you're looking to add a few skills and become much more artful in your approach to women and in your current relationship, then the training aspects inside the guild is, we've got your back and we're going to throw all our best feedback, perspective, support, mentoring your way so that you can embody the man that you know you are underneath as well. So two different elements. We have the mastermind, we have the training, and then within the guild, Zan, you'll speak about it a little bit. I'm going to provide a structured, solid online curriculum that you can follow with a whole number of philosophical, psychological, embodiment, kind of meditative, even esoteric aspects to do with this message. And then Zan, you're going to host people for a number of
Yeah.
live experiences throughout the year.
Yeah, I wanted to do some retreats because for me, the important thing and what I love the most is being in the company of men that we're having a laugh and telling stories and telling, I for a few years before Roger Scruton died, I would go to his experiences that they created, and I didn't go for his lectures or to sit and take notes because I could watch on YouTube or read his books. I went to be around Roger Scruton and to have we'd be in his room, we'd have a glass of whiskey in the evening, and he'd tell some stories. That has super value to me, to be around that energy, and that's how I see my future. Like being holding forth and listening to stories, getting to know guys, and really just so anyway, my idea for the year long guild program is that I'm going to create some retreats, different cities, Romania, for instance, maybe Texas. I'm thinking of like Venice, go to Casanova's birthplace, and whoever's a member of the guild, come with me. Let's go and break bread together. Let's look at this. This is where Casanova did this, and or Las Vegas or whatever it is. I'd like to start to move these around a bit and have guys that want to show up and be part of the joking, fun, camaraderie conversation with me. That's what I want to. That's what I want to do it within the guild participation. I want physical gatherings, physical. Let's go on a little trip somewhere. Let's go to Malta. I don't know. That's my intention. And we'll try it. We're going to try for a year. And if we don't like it after a year, we'll do something else. But we're going to dedicate ourselves to a year. You're going to do a lot of deep, intensive coaching, or programs or trainings, and I'm going to do these kind of mirthful retreats somewhere. And it might be come to Romania, hang out with me, and let's come into my studio and let's go walk around. Let's see if there's any pretty girls out in this world. That's the idea.
Super. So if you've been wondering how to get more involved with the Asamarata for a while, and particularly something about the guild speaks to you, if you have questions, let us know and come to the webinar on Sunday, and we'll run through everything that you need to know, everything that's unanswered, so you can make an informed choice. Are you going to be part of this with us?
Yeah, let's go. Creating culture. Let's move forward, move the conversation forward. Because nobody else is, well, maybe there's others doing it, but we're on the cutting edge, trying to understand something new in the literary consciousness of masculine energy. We're on the edge of pushing that forward to the world. And so who wants to be involved? Come with us, man. We're pushing hard. We're not slowing down.
Great. So thank you for joining us for the last 4 episodes, and curious to hear what you think about all of this as always. And we'll hope to see you on Sunday.
Okay.